Arthur Edward Waite is best known for the tarot he designed in collaboration with Pamela Colman Smith. But there's another tarot which is less well known, and this was created by Waite with the artist Waite Trinick. In this video, we'll explore the origins of these two very different decks. Waite was born in Brooklyn, New York City in 1857 to an English mother, Emma Lovell. His father was American Sea Captain Charles Waite, but he died at sea a year after Arthur's birth. It wasn't the best of beginnings for the young boy. His mother returned to England, where his sister Frederica was born. They were raised Roman Catholic, but when Frederica died, aged just 15, Waite turned to spiritualism. This was late Victorian England. New inventions like electricity and the telegraph showed messages could travel invisibly, so for many, communicating with unseen spirits through practices like séance felt technically plausible. Waite was soon drawn to deeper mystical knowledge. In 1891, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret esoteric society, and at some point during this time he encountered their ideas about tarot. This is Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mathers, one of the founders of the Golden Dawn. Mathers had compiled the Book of Tea. Descriptions of the symbols for each card were provided, but the Golden Dawn never published their own tarot deck. The idea was for members to design their own decks for personal use, and because the Golden Dawn was a secret society, instructions were only made available to higher grade initiates. Waite had different ideas about the origin and meanings of tarot. He had different ideas about the Golden Dawn. Throughout his life, Waite was attracted to Christian mysticism. The term often appears in the same sentence as Waite and tarot, so let's take a look at what it means. Mysticism refers to the internal search for divinity, often involving direct and transformative experiences through practices such as prayer, drugs, and specific ritual. Christian mysticism, as it sounds, was about finding the God of the Christian Bible and Scriptures. Waite wanted direct experiential awareness of the presence of God, or Yahweh. Waite believed in a universal knowledge, sometimes called the secret tradition, and he thought traces remained hidden in both Christianity and Western mystery traditions. They were different on the surface, but underneath was the same idea of finding hidden or lost knowledge, an idea that was impossible to destroy. It retreated instead to the worlds of secret societies, and in the late Victorian years these were flourishing. There were Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Theosophists, and of course the Golden Dawn itself. All of these had rules, different grades, initiations, ceremonies, ritual, and costumes. But Waite wasn't one for dressing up or role-play. Ceremonial magic was not for him. In 1903, he set up his own group, the Independent and Rectified Rite of the Golden Dawn. And here he could push his interest in Christian mysticism further. He believed in the language of symbols, that deeper, almost forgotten traditions lay below the surface, and he believed in the existence of mystical pathways. For Waite, tarot was one of those mystical journeys. On the surface, it was a tool for divination, for prediction and prophecy, the telling of fortunes, but underneath was a symbolic language, one that could speak directly to the inner unconscious self. Waite wanted the public to see tarot as more than futures and fortunes. His tarot deck would be used by anyone, not restricted to members of secret societies. He wanted to give access to tools so they could be used for guidance on everybody's own mystical paths. Waite had a huge amount of content. There was Mathers' Book of Tea as a foundation, where each card was linked to the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Hebrew alphabet, the 4 classical elements of earth, water, fire and air, as well as the astrological planets and houses. Waite blended the Golden Dawn teachings with his own ideas on Christian mysticism. He adopted Rosicrucian doctrines and adapted the Golden Dawn's pillars. For deck structure, he had the French Marseillaise-style tarot as well as the Italian Sola Busca, which was the only deck to have images on each of the cards. All the pieces for his new tarot were in place, but he needed an artist to bring them all together. Pamela Colman Smith had been a member of the Golden Dawn, and in 1909 he commissioned Smith for the task. Waite gave her 6 months, a set fee, and the rest, as they say, is history. To accompany this tarot, Waite wrote the pictorial key to the tarot as a guide to the cards, and was a blend of prediction and philosophy, fortune-telling combined with mysticism. This tarot merged the outer everyday material world with an inner, more spiritual one. The deck was first published in 1909, but Smith's name was missing. According to Google, it was 2009, 100 years later, before Pamela Colman Smith was added, but that's another story for another video. Having achieved his aim of creating a publicly accessible tarot, one that blended the potential for divination with the deeper symbolic language of mysticism, Waite still wasn't satisfied. In 1915, he'd set up his own Fellowship of the Rosy Cross, a Christian, mystical and esoteric society that focused on spiritual development. Waite was now leading a group where he could practice his own spiritual approach to life. And he wanted another tarot, but this one would be private, its symbolism only available to members of his fellowship. It's known today as the Waite Trinick Tarot, or the Symbols of the Paths. This is John Brahms Trinick. An Australian artist born in Melbourne in 1890, Trinick studied art in both London and Australia before specialising in glasswork. Examples of his stained glass windows can still be seen in churches across London, as well as Margate on the south coast, where he relocated his workshop during the Second World War. The details of how and where Waite and Trinick met are uncertain, but it seems reasonable to suggest it was through Waite's Fellowship of the Rosy Cross. We know that Trinick was interested in wider forms of spirituality, such as alchemy, Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism, and together they worked on Waite's second tarot, creating in total 23 new images which are very different to those drawn by Pamela Colman Smith in 1909. It's suggested the work was carried out between around 1917 to 1925, so it was a lengthy project. One that provided Waite with opportunities to explore his own ideas around symbolism. The images were designed to speak directly to the unconscious self and be used to support contemplative practice. The cards are long and thin, reflecting the design of tall stained glass windows. Waite's first tarot had followed guidance from the Golden Dawn, where each card was linked to the Kabbalistic tree of life. The Waite Trinick Tarot had some changes to the tree. Structurally it remained the same, but Waite altered the mapping of divinity and spirituality, and he also reduced the astrological connections while reinforcing the esoteric symbolism. The purpose of the Waite Trinick deck was to show how the soul could ascend through layers of external and internal realities, having mystical experiences as it travelled and to ultimately achieve that divine union with God. Compared to Waite's first tarot, it marked a change of direction and was never intended to be seen by anyone outside of Waite's inner circle. It's not known if Trinick was paid for this work, only that it was a private commission, and the images might have been lost forever because after Trinick's death in 1974, the original paintings were given to the British Museum by his family, but were apparently mislabelled and have only recently been uncovered. Now anyone can do a search online and find these strange, almost minimalist images. Let me know what you think about this tarot in the comments below, and I'll see you next time when we'll look at the tarot designed by Aleister Crowley and illustrated by Lady Freda Harris and known as the Thoth Tarot.